Hello everyone, this is the chapter 1 of Strategic Planning and Management, and I will discuss about the introduction to strategic management. Definitions of terms. Strategy, a set of related actions that managers take to increase their company's performance. A plan of action or procedure designed to achieve a major long-term or overall goal. Strategic leadership, creating competitive advantage through effective management of the strategy-making process. Strategy making. It is the process by which managers select and then implement a set of strategies that aim to achieve a competitive advantage. Strategy formulation. It is the task of selecting strategies. And last, strategy implementation, putting strategies into action. Strategic leadership. It is concerned with managing the strategy making process to increase the performance of a company. Shareholder value. It refers to the returns that shareholders earn from purchasing shares in company, and it's from capital appreciation or company shares and dividend payments. Risk capital. It is equity capital invested with no return guarantee. Investment should be made so that profits are maximized shareholder value. Profitability. The profitability of a company is by its return on the capital invested in the enterprise. ROIC, net profit over the capital invested in the company. Net profit is the income after taxes, and the capital is the sum of money invested in the company. Profit growth, it is the increase in net profit over time. Successful profitable growth, high profitability and sustainable profit growth. Example, T-Mobile, Apple, Google, and Microsoft. Competitive advantage. It is when its profitability and profit growth are greater than the average of other companies competing for the same set of customers. The higher the profitability and profit growth, the greater advantage. Sustained competitive advantage. It is when its strategies enable it to maintain above average profitability and profit growth for a number of years. If you want to understand competitive advantage, you need to appreciate how different strategies work over time and adapt it necessarily to make a company unique and able to consistently outperform them. Business model. It is a conception of how strategies should work together as a whole to achieve competitive advantage. A business model involves the totality of how company will select its customers, define and differentiate its product offerings, create value for its customers, acquire and keep customers, produce goods or services, increase productivity and lower costs, deliver goods and services to the market, organize activities within the company, configure its resources, achieve and sustain a high level of profitability, and grow the business over time. Superior performances. Industry differences in performance. Company performance is determined by the industry in which it is competing on. The different competitive conditions prevailing in different industries may lead to differences in profitability and profit growth. Its relative success in its industry and the overall performance of its industry relative to other industries. Performance in non-profit enterprises. Companies not engaging in earning profits but allocation of resources to efficiently and effectively operate properly, like charities, universities, and government agencies. Profit comes from excellent performance it has achieved in the industry. Also competes with other non-profits for resources like donations and donors. Successful strategy as to why donors should contribute to their cause or goals. Strategy managers, profit equals non-profit. Strategic managers, they are responsible for formulating strategies for competitive advantage and implementation. General managers, responsible for the overall company performance and have profit and loss responsibility for a product, business, or company. Functional managers, responsible for supervising a particular function that is a task, an activity, or an operation such as accounting, marketing, research and development or R&D, information technology, or logistics. Company, collection of departments or functions that work together to bring a good or service to the market. Multidivisional company, competes in several different businesses and are self-contained. Levels of strategic management, corporate level managers, link between people overseeing the strategic development of the firm and the shareholders. CEO is viewed as agent of the shareholders, ensure corporate and business strategies are consistent with superior profitability and profit growth. Business level managers. Business unit is a self-contained division with its own functions, for example, finance, purchasing, production, and marketing departments that provides a product or service for a particular market. It is the head of department or division. Functional level managers, responsible for specific business functions or operation found within a company or one of its divisions. The responsibility is to confine to one organizational activity. The role of CEO, Chief Executive Officer, defining the goals of the organization, determining what businesses it should be in, allocating resources among the different businesses, formulating and implementing strategies that span individual businesses, and providing leadership for entire organization. Strategy making process. Model of strategic planning process. First is select the corporate mission and major corporate goals. 2. Analyze the organization's external competitive environment to identify opportunities and threats. Third is analyze the organization's internal operating environment to identify the organization's strengths and weaknesses. Fourth, select strategies that build on the organization's strength and correct its weaknesses in order to take advantage of external opportunities and counter external threats. These strategies should be consistent with the mission and major goals of the organization. They should be congruent and constitute a viable business model. Fifth is implement the strategies. Strategy formulation. Taking actions consistent with the selected strategies of the company at the corporate, business, and functional levels. Allocating roles and responsibilities among managers. Allocating resources like capital and money. Setting short-term objectives. Designing the organization's control and reward systems. Mission statement. The mission. The purpose of the company or a statement of what the company strives to do. It describes what the company does. According to Peter Drucker, an important first step in the process of formulating a mission is to come up with a definition of the organization and business. What is our business? Who is being satisfied? What is being satisfied? How are the needs satisfied? What will it be? What should it be? Customer-oriented, needs the customer once satisfied. Product-oriented, focuses on the characteristics of the product sold. The vision. The vision of a company defines a desired future state. It articulates open, in bold terms, what the company would like to achieve. Values. States how the company conducts themselves, how they should do business, and what kind of organization they should build. Help drives and shape behavior within an organization. Major goals. Well-constructed goals have four main characteristics. First is precise and measurable, in which performance is based on. Second is they address crucial issues to maintain focus. Third, they are challenging but realistic. They give all the employees an incentive to look for ways of improving the operations of the organization. And last, specify a time period which the goal should be achieved. Major goals. External analysis. Its purpose is to identify strategic opportunities and threats with the organization's operating environment, industry environment, which the company operates, country or national environment, socio-economic or macro environment, assessment of competitive structure of the company's industry, the competitive position of the company, and its major rivals. Analysis, nature stage, dynamics, history of industry, impact of globalization, macro-environment factors, macroeconomic, social, government, legal, international, technological, internal analysis, reviews the resources, capabilities, and competencies of a company in order to identify its strengths and weaknesses. SWOT analysis and the business model, the comparison of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Its purpose is to identify strategies to exploit external opportunities, counter threats, build on and protect company strengths, and eradicate weaknesses. And its goal to create, affirm, or fine-tune a company's specific business model that will best align, fit, or match a company's resources and capabilities to the demands of environment in which it operates. Strategy implementation. Once managers have chosen a set of congruent strategies to achieve a competitive advantage and increase performance, those strategies have to be implemented. Strategy implementation involves taking action at the functional, business, and corporate levels to execute a strategic plan. Strategy implementation also entails designing the best organizational structure and the best culture and control system to put a chosen strategy into action. Feedback loop. The feedback loop indicates the strategic planning is ongoing. It never ends. Once a strategy has been implemented, its execution must be monitored to determine the extent to which strategic goals and objectives are being achieved and to what degree competitive advantage is being created and sustained. Categories of SWOT analysis. The four main categories are functional level strategies, improving efficiency and effectiveness of operations. Business level strategies encompasses the business overall competitive team, its market position to gain more competitive advantage, and different positioning strategies it should use in different industry settings. Global strategies addresses how to expand operations outside the home country in order to grow and prosper. 4. Corporate level strategies. What business to maximize the long run profitability and profit growth of the organization and how to enter and increase our presence in these businesses to gain advantages. Strategy as an emergent process. The planning model is the result of a plan. That the strategic planning process is rational and highly structured. Formal planning model has three reasons. Unpredictability of the real world. Role lower level managers can play in the strategic management process. Successful strategies are often the results of serendipity and not rational strategizing. Strategy planning is an unpredictable world. Critics, we live in uncertain, complex, and ambiguity dominate. Small chance events can have a large unpredictable impact on outcomes. Even the most thought out strategic plans are prone to vulnerability with rapid unforeseen change. Being able to respond quickly as paramount. Autonomous action, strategy making, critics. Too much focus on the importance of the role of CEO and top management. Individual managers in the organization can exert a certain influence over the strategic direction of the firm. Autonomous action of lower level actions on their initiative formulated new strategies and work to persuade top level managers to after the priorities of the firm. Enables higher managers to gain input and different perspective, serendipity, and strategy. This suggests that many successful strategies are not the result of well thought out plans, stumbling across good outcomes unexpectedly. Intended and emergent strategies. A company's realized strategy is the product of whatever planned strategies are actually put into action in any unplanned or emergent strategies. Emergent strategies are the unplanned responses to unforeseen circumstances. They arise from autonomous action by individual managers deep within the organization. Strategic planning in practice. To try to forecast what the future will look like. Managers can use scenario planning techniques to project different possible futures. They can also involve operating managers in the planning process and seek to shape the future competitive environment by emphasizing strategic intent. Scenario planning. One reason that strategic planning may fail over longer time periods is that strategic managers, in their initial enthusiasm for planning techniques, may forget that the future is entirely unpredictable. Scenario planning involves formulating plans that are based upon what-if scenarios about the future. In the typical scenario planning exercise, some scenarios are optimistic, some pessimistic. The great virtue of the scenario approach to planning is that it pushes managers to think outside the box, to anticipate what they might need to do in different situations. Decentralized planning. Some companies constructing a strategic planning process erroneously treat planning exclusively as a top management responsibility. The ivory tower concept of planning can also lead to tensions between corporate, business, and functional level managers. Correcting the ivory tower approach to planning requires recognizing the successful strategic planning encom- en- encompasses managers at all levels of the corporation. Much of the best planning can and should be done by business and functional managers who are closest to the facts. Strategic decision making. Even the best designed strategic planning systems will fail to produce the desired results if managers do not effectively use the information at their disposal. Cognitive bias in strategic decision making. The rationality of decision making is bound by one's cognitive capabilities, and sometimes this leads to severe systematic errors in the decision making process. Systematic errors are those that appear time and time again. These errors seem to arise from different cognitive biases in the way information is processed and decisions are made. Confirmation bias. Decision makers who have strong prior beliefs tend to make decisions on the basis of these beliefs, even when presented with evidence that their beliefs are incorrect. Escalating commitment. Decision makers having already committed significant resources to a project commit even more resources even if they receive feedback that the project is failing. Reasoning by analogy involves the use of simple analogies to make sense out of complex problems. Representativeness is rooted in the tendency to generate from small sample or even a single vivid anecdote. This bias violates the statistical law of large numbers, which states that it is inappropriate to generalize from a small sample, let alone from a single case. Illusion of control, or the tendency to overestimate one's ability to control events. General or top managers seem to be particularly prone to this bias. Having risen to top of an organization, they tend to be overconfident about their ability to succeed. Availability error arises from our predisposition to estimate the probability of an outcome based on how easy the outcome is to imagine. Techniques for improving decision making. Confirmation bias. Devil's advocacy requires the generation of a plan and critical analysis of the plan. One member of the decision making group acts as a devil advocate, emphasizing all the reasons that might make the proposal unacceptable. Dialectic inquiry. It is more complex because it requires the generation of a plan and a counterpart that reflect reasonable but conflicting courses of action. Strategic managers listen to a debate between advocates of the plan and counterplan and then decide which plan will lead to higher performance. The purpose of the debate is to reveal problems with definitions, recommended course of action, and assumption of both plans. Outside view requires planners to identify a reference class of analogous past strategic initiatives, determine whether those initiatives succeeded or failed, evaluate the project hand against those prior initiatives. This technique is particularly useful for countering biases such as illusion of control, reasoning by analogy, and representativeness. Strategic leadership. One key strategic role of both general and functional managers is to use all their knowledge, energy, and enthusiasm to provide strategic leadership for their subordinates and develop a high-performing organization. Strong key characteristic of strong strategic leaders: vision, eloquence, consistency, a sense of direction, clear compelling vision of the goals, and for organization, articulation of business model, the ability to conceptualize how the various strategies the company fits together into a to, into a whole. Commitment to vision and business model by action and words. Well informed, develop of network of formal and informal sources to keep track of the events in the company. Willingness to delegate and empower. They recognize that unless they learn how to delegate effectively, they can quickly become overloaded with responsibilities. They also recognize the empowering subordinates to make decisions in a good motivational tool, and often results in decisions being made by those who must implement them. Astute of use of power. Strategic leaders must often play the power game with skill and attempt to build consensus for their ideas rather than use their authority to force ideas through. They must act as members of coalition or its democratic leaders rather than as dictators. Emotional intelligence, self-awareness, understand own mood, emotions, and drive their effect on others. Self-regulation, ability to control or redirect disruption behaviors, thinking before acting. Motivation, passion for work that goes beyond money or status. Propensity to pursue goals with energy and persistence. Empathy, ability to understand the feelings and viewpoints of subordinates and to take those into account when making decisions. And last, social skills, friendliness with a purpose.